Just tell us a little bit about your first job.
My first job, wow.
Yes.
My first job was in campus.
I think one common thread between you and I is money.
Yeah.
And the lack of it.
What was your biggest money lesson in your 20s? And what is the purpose of money in your 20s?
Welcome to the tea. I think the only thing we've missed talking about this, and I know Richie is on our case here, is this is where you get our first jobs.
Money. Income generation.
Wealth generation. Yeah. Just tell us a little bit about your first job.
My first job, wow.
Yes.
My first job was in campus. I worked at the school library. You know, as an international student, we were not allowed to work outside of campus. So you had to find a job within the school, and the school was allowed to hire international students. In fact, a lot of times they gave priority to international students.
Okay.
For that reason, because we had limited income making opportunities. And of course, in the States, their work culture is very different from Africa's, in the sense that they empower the young. From 16, you can work formally and get a paycheck. And you know, I had lots of American friends who, by the time they had turned 18, had been kicked out of the home. They were renting their own place, making their own money, taking themselves to school, had bought their own cars. And that was an interesting awakening for me, because it empowered me to think, okay, I'm old enough. If they can do it, why am I not? I should not be as reliant on the family back home as I have been, or thought should be the case while I'm in school. So that was my first income making opportunity. It was nothing, peanuts, $3.25 an hour. And even then I could only work 20 hours a week, max.
Yeah, it's max.
Or else you're breaking the law. But that basically allowed me enough money to buy pencils and pens and a sandwich here and there. I was still fully reliant on mom and dad. Later on, I got a job in the school's maintenance crew, painting the dorms, fixing handrails, whatever. And they paid slightly better. I was earning $5.15 per hour. On that, and especially during the school breaks, when I couldn't come home, I worked it full time. That was allowed. And then when I had to leave school, my first job was one as a result of all the self-help groups or books I was reading, how to make money, Think and Grow Rich, how to start a business, power of positive thinking, all that. I found myself in real estate. Wow. I bought a program. Cost me $2,000. I swiped a credit card I had no business swiping, that the banks were sending to people, and but it was a good investment in my brain. Yeah. I learned how to flip houses, how to find a deal, how to analyze a good real estate deal.
In your 20s?
Yes, I was 23 at the time.
Wow.
I was 23.
So your first house you flipped at 23?
No, it took me another 2 years before I could actually flip one.
To
make money, but I kept trying. Yes. I had failures because I was teaching myself. I didn't have a teacher or a mentor. It was a book I was reading, and I would say, step one, go scouting. This is how you scout. Yes. Knock on the doors, take a few steps back, introduce yourself. This is what you should say. Yes. How do you know it's a good investment? To negotiate, how to tie up a sale agreement, how to sell your sale agreement to the guy who actually has money to do the deal. Yes. And so that's essentially what I did. I was flipping contracts. I would analyze the deal, make the deal. Thankfully, it didn't require a lot of money. I did many sale agreements for $1, $10, which I was happy risking. I had 30 days to find the guy who actually had the money to do the deal and assign my contract to them. It was a very legal process. But yeah, 25, I made my first $1,000 selling my my contract, and that put me on a very interesting trajectory that I am still on at 44 years of age. I'm still sleeping.
So now I see the seed of Goshen, $2,000 credit card swiped.
Yes. Bad debt. Don't do that.
Bad debt.
Yeah. Borrow from a family member if you must. But I was in a desperate situation.
Yes.
And but the point is, I knew I had to change my thinking in order to have the life I wanted. I was deficient. My thinking was not going to get me the sort of life I desired. There was missing information, missing know-how, and I invested in that very aggressively.
And this was, you are self-employed, literally self-employed?
Yes. In the States, you know, again, I was not breaking the law because in the States,
Yes.
If I was doing it as a real estate agent, I would be breaking the law.
Yes.
But in this case, I was actually giving up $1, $10.
Yes.
That gave me beneficial interest in the transaction as an owner, and that is allowed even remotely. I don't even have to be in the States today to buy a property. And it's perfectly legal. So yes, I was self-employed in a sense.
Why this is so important, you can see the power of the things you do in your 20s. How it manifests up to your 40s.
And beyond.
Today, again, you're just doing exactly what you were doing, just in a different format, and self-employed. So you tasted the fruits of being self-employed.
It was amazing, man. I heard this from a gentleman who employed me as a sales guy later on.
Yeah.
When in 2008 the market crashed in the US, the credit market imploded and we couldn't sell houses anymore. The market basically disappeared. So I got a job for 2 years as a sales guy, door-to-door sales. In essence, I was a very well-dressed street hawker.
Yes.
We would peddle discount coupon cards, door-to-door, business to business, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, including Saturdays, sometimes on Sunday if you didn't meet your targets.
Yes.
And he used to tell us, today you have an opportunity to write your own paycheck. Wow. It's not up to anyone how much money you make, but you.
Yeah.
So give it 1,000,000%. If you're not making enough, look at the mirror. There's no one else to blame. I gave it 1,000,000%. I still do. I don't make excuses. If it ain't working, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to do to fix it?
Wow. And you mentioned the word failure, which is good. It's very good to get accustomed to failure in your 20s.
Oh my God, in your 20s, actually, that's the one thing I would pick as my advice to the young guys in their 20s, guys and girls. Make it your goal to fail the most number of times possible. You know, we come from a culture that vilifies failure, which is wrong. Failure is nothing other than an education. You know, this thing being peddled around, fail forward, learn how to fail forward. Failure simply means you haven't figured out how to do it right. So analyze, see what you did wrong, and press repeat until you get it right. And the reason I am saying that to the 20-something-year-olds is because their biggest premium is time. They have time to recover from mistakes.
Exactly.
So embrace them. Don't let it define you. Don't let anyone talk down at you and make you feel like you're nothing because you've failed at something. Celebrate that you actually did something. How about that? That you actually busted a move and did something. Because the world only belongs to those who bust a move, the doers. That's it. So do. Doesn't matter how many times you fail, because you have time to recover. Control your relationships. Control who has access to you. There's a guy I used to listen to every morning, Dr. Mike Murdoch. He always started his sessions by saying, "Thank you for allowing me the privilege to speak to you today." And for the first time I was like, wait, okay, so it's up to me. This guy is privileged to speak to me.
Yeah.
And this is a multi-millionaire. His bills alone annually at the time was $4 million. Lights, jet fuel, employees, just bills, $4 million. He's telling me he's privileged to speak to you because he understood access is everything. So for you in your 20s, control who has access to you.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what you're listening to, what you're reading, because you're giving those things access.
Yeah.
And then surround yourself with those who have gone before.
Yeah.
And trust them. Find the ones you can trust, because if you can't trust them, they won't do you any good. And you'll be just fine. How about you? What was your first job, formal job?
Yeah, I think one common thread between you and I is money.
Yeah.
And the lack of it.
Yes. It's deficiency.
It's deficiency. It's a strong driver to what choices we made on our first jobs. And for me, when I went to Nairobi University, I studied Bachelor of Commerce. I had the option of being among the first cohort to do in finance, stroke investment, but that was really risky because
it was new.
It was new. It wasn't proven in the industry. So my second option was really to go into accounting, even though at the back of my mind I knew investment is where I really want to end up. So my first job was at AAR as an accountant, and I landed there one day before 9/11. Exactly one day before 9/11.
At AAR?
At AAR. So hell broke loose the following day, on my second day of formal employment.
Wow.
And I always remember that. So my career is as long as 9/11.
Yes, yes, yes. Excellent.
Yeah. And when I landed there, my first assignment was really around reconciliation. Oh man, that was like the hardest thing that I had ever done. You know, I was given these 2-year bank statements, 24 months to reconcile, straight out of college. And I was given a PC, you know, those days it was PC. The spreadsheet was open, and I was like, what do I do with these papers and this spreadsheets? And I think I must have wasted a day or two before the chief accountant noticed, you know what, this guy is stuck. So he came, he pulled his chair next to mine, and then he told me, let me show you. And the next couple of minutes, I thought the guy just did miraculous things on Excel. But he had just done enough to prick my curiosity, because I developed such curiosity to learn Excel. And me and my peers then, you know, we started challenging each other. You know, how many, do you remember those days you had to work with a mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we started challenging each other. How long can you work without a mouse? And it went from 5 minutes to 1 hour to a whole day.
Right.
We no longer needed mouses, but you couldn't even tell what you were doing because the speed was insane of moving between worksheets and manipulating worksheets.
Your art.
I really mastered my craft. And, and that was really a time that I remember with a lot of joy. Because it gave me my first skill set. And I always say, if you find yourself doing a lot of Excel in a workplace, then you must be starting your career.
Okay.
If you find yourself doing presentations and reporting, then you must be somewhere in your middle level management going up. And if you find yourself you're just pitching to customers, then you are in the top tier of an organization. So that sort of set me on my beginning point. And my second job, which was in Toyota, I was purely recruited because I was the best in Excel. And they needed someone who was highly analytical.
Yes, yes.
highly analytical. So you can see it developed me into my second job. Right. But now I was coming from this mid-sized organization to a global brand, massive organization where people are very, very specialized, and I was put in charge of just the inventory. I was the cost accountant. So any car that was leaving Japan, from the moment it is put on the ship, it belonged to me until it comes to the showroom. So any car that you'd see on the showroom belonged to me and the guys who are selling. So that again, was another interesting period of exposure, working in this massive organization. Yeah. And of course, I transitioned to Centum after that. And Centum was this small company, local company, that I remember my president in Toyota was asking me, by the way, why would you leave such a global brand for a local small company? But I really liked the people, the talent that I saw there. And I felt that I would be challenged more in that environment. And there's a reason I'm giving this story. So we enter into this small company where if we're doing branding, we are all involved in branding. Yeah. If we are going to report to investors during an investor briefing, we were all involved in investor briefing. If the tea lady didn't show up at work, then somehow you would need to know how to make tea for yourself. And for me, this helped me to see how, if I was to go back to my 20s, how would I start my career? I would start with a small company. A small company gives you breadth. A small company puts you close to the highest office. A small company depends on you. Even if you're an entry level person, if you don't show up at work, people will feel your absence. And you cannot compare somebody who has spent their 20s, 10 years in a small company, and somebody who's spent their first 20 work life years in a global company. Yeah. One will definitely have a lot more scope and experience, and that's my advice to the people. So if you find yourself that you're out there looking for a job, don't go for these big companies. What is important to you at this point is not really money. What is really important to you at this point is exposure and experience, and the right exposure and a lot of breadth. You need to know how to sell. You need to know how to develop products. You need to know how to brand. You need to know how to market. You need to know how to run the back office. You need to know what goes on in the finance, because these things, you will need them to run a business at some point, and you become more valuable when you go into a big setup. So that's my advice to the young guys in their 20s.
Awesome advice.
Yes.
I think so. Just for you probably agree with me. For those who may not have job employment opportunities in that regard, so entrepreneurship would offer you the same.
Exactly.
Because you have to figure it all out. Logistics, supply.
Can go like Solo, and it's a
perfect what you described is exactly what we do. Yep. What we did to a lesser degree now, but still that's an attitude.
Exactly.
Someone's missing, I can't say that's not my JD. It ain't getting that. No, you have to figure it out and get it done. That's awesome advice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we can wrap up. What are your key takeaways for the young guys?
Man, just as you said.
Top tips for the 20s.
Top tips. Be enthusiastic. Make no excuses.
Yes.
Life is hard.
Yeah.
Everyone and their grandmother has had problems. You're not special.
Yes.
So figure it out. But be enthusiastic. Be willing to learn. Invest in yourself. Embrace challenges. Don't tie yourself down too early with marriage and dating. Yeah, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's profound. I think for me, I would just pick one thing that really, you brought it out.
Yeah.
If I was in my 20s, I would fail. Try as many times as possible to fail. Get familiar with failure. If you are selling, don't count how many times you have sold. Count how many times you've been rejected. That develops a thick skin on you. And once you get over that fear, the world is yours. You can succeed in anything. You can succeed anywhere. So, top skills, please sell if you can. Even if you're not in selling department, make sure you're participating in selling when you're in your 20s. And again, we said, what is most important is not money, it is experience. Experience and exposure, and then you add your character. Money will always follow you. People will be looking for you to give you money, and money will never be a problem. Money chases character, not the other way around. So here, Solo, comes the most amazing phase of this session.
Yeah.
Ask Pius and Solo.
So,
let's see what question people have. So Cynthia is asking, how can she manage or divide her expenses per month? Basically budgeting. How can she budget? What's your advice?
How can she budget? I mean, I feel that's a bit too general, Cynthia. Unless you're asking, what should you prioritize in your budget? I'll confess, one of my greatest handicaps in life was not having financial education until late. I was in my late 20s because I was reading Think and Grow Rich and teaching myself.
You're thinking of making money, not managing money.
Yes, that's a very separate thing.
Yeah.
Making money is different from managing it. But and it's good that Cynthia is asking that question, because it's a skill, honestly, I feel needs to be taught from primary school. Needs to be a basic. How to manage money. You get 100 bob, how do you divvy it up? And so my advice is, obviously have a priority list. You need to prioritize what you deploy your money to. And having learned from different corners, including Pius, reading books, I would say, first of all, pay yourself. And that means save. Put money aside for tomorrow. No matter how little you're working with, decide the percentage that is reasonable. And on the percentage, I'll let Pius, because he's a finance expert, I'll let him give you that percentage. For me, generally, it's nothing less than 10%. The higher, the better. And then you have to prioritize your housing, where you're living, what are you eating, what are you wearing. Of course, tax is implied. I like to tell people, the government of Kenya Revenue Authority, is a 30% shareholder in your life and business. Yeah. They own 25 to 30% of every shilling you will make for life. Yeah. So get used to that idea, and put it aside. Yeah. But prioritize by paying yourself first, take care of your basic needs, and figure out other ways to increase your income. Passively, if possible, not actively.
Yeah, I wouldn't have put it any better.
Awesome.
Pay yourself, then budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super. My turn.
Okay.
So this question is from Gladys. And she's asking, what was your biggest love lesson in your 20s? Just like Gladys to ask that question. What was your biggest love lesson in your 20s?
Wow, that requires me to to pause and think. Wow, Gladys, you really put me in a corner. Wow, I think my greatest love lesson is it's natural to fall in love. I'm one of those guys who came hardcore, you know. I'm not gonna fall in love with anybody here, you know. I'm not going to be having all this lovey-dovey stuff. But yeah, my moment came and I was swept off my feet and enjoy it, but please make sure that if you fall in love, you fall in love with the right person, because that can have such repercussions if it is an unwise choice. So fall in love, but fall in love thinking, not blindly, so that you fall in love with the right person. Even if you don't marry that person, you not look at them as somebody who was a detriment in your life, but somebody who really enhanced your life and made your life better. Fall in love with someone that you admire, their character and the way they live their life.
Awesome. Your turn.
It's my turn. Man Solo, you've thrown me a big punch, so I hope I have one for you.
Bring it, man. I was born ready, man. I was born ready.
Wow, this is a nice one. This is from Kevin. Kevin is asking, Solo, advise me on how to prepare myself to move out.
Where? To move, I guess Kevin is moving houses.
To move out from his parents' home.
Oh, how to prepare yourself? First thing I'll tell Kevo is make sure you have enough put away. Have a lump sum of cash or reserve to handle your move. I mean, there's basic things like, are you moving the stuff yourself? Do you need movers? How much is that gonna cost? It's a budgeting situation, in my view.
Yeah.
So if you haven't yet done so, you need to identify where you want to move to.
Yeah.
How much is it gonna cost?
Yeah.
How far is it from where you need to work?
Yeah.
Because that has an implication on your commute time and expenses, associated expenses, whether it's Muchiri fare, bus fare, fuel costs. You need to think about that stuff. So just prioritize. But before you even do all that, I hope you've taken time to thank your parents for giving you that stable footing in life. There are many who grow up without parents and without homes to move out of. And I'm saying this because for me, at the end of the day, everything boils down to your attitude in life. There's that corny saying, you know, your attitude determines your altitude.
Yes.
It's true. You need to have character. And part of that is being grateful for where you are in the first place. Yeah. If it's your parents' home you're leaving, thank them for having educated you, clothed you, taken you to school, empowered you enough to even be in a place where you're considering moving out. And then budget. That's what I would say.
So leave your home with blessings.
Yes, very important. Yep. Honor your father and mother. First commandment with a promise attached to it. Yep. Every time I meet older guys in their 90s, now that I'm 44, I'm very eager to sit them down and ask them, what was your relationship with your parents like? It's obvious that God has blessed them with long life.
Long life. That's true.
And that was the promise God gave for honoring your father and mother. And it's true. Very rarely you'll find an old guy who was disrespectful to their parents. And it's important, whether or not you like it. Pius and I are here talking in the context of being Christians. So it's going to color a lot of our thoughts and conversations. Absolutely. Even though we do respect some of you may not be. But these are universal principles. Thank you, folks. get their blessings and budget. Be responsible, and you'll be good. Yeah.
In fact, let me add one more thing that I told my brother when he was moving out.
Yeah.
When you move out, you don't come back. So the move out must be sustainable.
Yes.
So when you move out, never go back to your parents' house. No matter how many challenges you encounter, it's got to be a serious crisis for you to go back to your parents' house. At least not on your own. On your own, you should never really go back. So it should be a calculated move. Move out, but let it be a sustainable move out.
Interesting. I'll challenge you on that one later, on another episode. So I have the privilege of asking the last question.
Oh dear. There's no recourse for me.
No. This is an easy one for you. Coco is asking.
Yeah.
What was your biggest money lesson in your 20s? And what is the purpose of money in your 20s?
Okay. Wow, that's a very good question. My biggest money lesson in my 20s is the power of earning, or rather was to learn the power of earning. You know, for most of your life up to your 20s, people have just been dishing out money at you. Your parents give you money. Your uncles, your aunties, you meet them, they give you money. So you really don't understand the cost of money. So in my early 20s, it was such a liberating feeling when I sold those sausages. I sold those biscuits, and I passed by the tuck shop and there was money waiting for me. I felt this was my rightful money. So for me, I advise you don't have to, the problem of being given money is that that money is always limited. But when you earn, then there are no limitations. And you can earn money even from your parents. You can earn money from your uncles. You can earn money from people all around you. Just wash people's cars. Do stuff that is so there. It doesn't mean that you'll always be washing cars, but it is teaching you a very valuable lesson that you will need even when you're a CEO of a company. The power of earning. And that comes with value add. What value have you added to someone else? If you add value, then people don't have a problem paying you. So add value and you'll earn in your 20s.
Super.
Thank you so much for watching, listening to my convo with my good friend here, Solo. We've had a wonderful time here, and I hope you've had a wonderful time, fun, and I hope this sets you up for success. It's been a privilege to have you as our listeners, and there is a lot more coming. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. I echo Pius's Thanksgiving. And if you have comments, questions, especially questions, please put them in the comment section or DM us on whatever platform it is that you're watching. And stay tuned for more interesting conversations. I'm Solomon Wangwe.
And I'm Pius Muchiri.